All right, let's jump right in, shall we? Today we're taking a deep dive into Signmax, this Canadian company. They're doing some interesting stuff in the sign making world. They've got a whole pile of material, brochures, catalogs, the works. And what jumps out at me right away is this emphasis on made in Canada, or made by us even. But they also talk about global sourcing. I'm curious how that all fits together.
Yeah, that's a good point. It's a trend we see more and more these days. It's not just about where something is made, but the philosophy behind it. So maybe let's start with that Canadian pride, because it really is front and center for them.
Yeah, absolutely. They talk a lot about their commitment to Canadian manufacturing and expertise.
And it makes you think, right? Like in this global supply chain world, what does it actually mean to be made in Canada? Well, for Signmax, it seems to be more than just a label. They're talking about quality standards, ethical practices, reducing their environment and impact even. They even highlight that their products, they meet Canadian electrical standards. They've got those CSA and UL certifications. So they're really going the extra mile for their customers.
And it's interesting because they're actually very open about the fact that not everything is made directly by them, right? They source some products from other manufacturers, but even then, they still emphasize Canadian made whenever possible.
Exactly. They seem really committed to supporting those local businesses and, contributing to the Canadian economy as much as they can. It's like a conscious effort to have a positive impact beyond just profit.
Okay, so with this made in Canada, this made by us philosophy, let's actually unpack what Signmax actually offers, their product range.
Well, their product range is pretty impressive, I gotta say. They've got software, a whole line of CNC machines, all sorts of sign supplies, and they even offer services, to help customers get the most out of their products. Looks like they've got the whole process covered from design to production.
Yeah, like a one-stop shop for sign makers. That's pretty neat. And speaking of design, the software really caught my eye. They've got WinPCSIGN Basic, Pro, CNC, even Monument. Even I can tell that's a pretty diverse set of tools.
You're right. It's not a one-size-fits-all approach. They've clearly considered the needs of, well, all the sorts of sign makers. I mean, you can imagine WinPCSIGN Basic being perfect for a small business just starting out. Maybe someone creating simple storefront signs, probably a pretty intuitive interface and all of the essential tools to get going. Then you've got WinPCSIGN Pro, which I'm guessing is packed with more advanced features, maybe for experienced users who need that extra level of control, that precision. And of course, the CNC software, that's specifically designed for working with, their CNC machines. It's bridging that gap between design and fabrication.
It's almost like those video games where you start with basic tools and then unlock more powerful ones as you go, right? And speaking of CNC machines, this is where that global sourcing element comes into play, isn't it? They're pretty upfront about the fact that the frames and the initial assembly of their CNC machines, that happens in China.
Yeah, and they're specific about the reasoning behind that choice too. It's about finding that balance between, cost effectiveness and keeping those high quality standards. So the frames are built to their specifications in China, but then every single machine goes through this rigorous process back at their facility in Canada.
So it's not just about importing machines that are already made and just slap a label on them.
Not at all, not at all. They inspect every single component. They address any issues, make improvements based on their expertise, on customer feedback, and they even customize each machine to meet Canadian standards and specific requirements. They're even using high-quality imported components like HSD spindles from Italy and servo motors and linear guides from Japan.
Okay, hold on. For those of us who aren't engineers, can you break that down a bit? What do those fancy parts actually do?
Sure. Think of it like the HSD spindle. That's the heart of the CNC machine, really. It's the part that holds the cutting tool, and its quality, it directly impacts how precise and how fast those cuts are. And then the servo motors and the linear guides, those work together to control the movement of the machine's cutting head. They ensure smooth and accurate cuts. So you can see why using top-notch components like that, it's essential for a high-performing CNC machine.
So it's a really interesting approach, combining that global sourcing for specific parts, but then the local expertise for assembly, customization, and quality control.
Exactly, and that allows them to offer a range of CNC machines that meet Canadian standards, fully certified, and they even have a used CNC option for customers who are, maybe looking for a more budget-friendly solution, which I think shows their commitment to making their technology accessible to all sorts of businesses.
Okay, so we've talked software, CNC machines, but what about the actual materials to make the signs? What kind of sign supplies does Signmax offer?
Well, they've got the essentials covered, like aluminum composite panels, in all sorts of sizes and shapes. And they offer plexiglass standoffs for mounting signs, acrylic frames for a more, polished look. And they have a cut-to-size service for those aluminum composite panels. Super convenient, especially for smaller projects.
It sounds like they really have thought about that whole process from that initial design to the final product. Speaking of support, they don't just sell you the product and then just leave you hanging, do they? I saw something about technical support and training programs.
You're absolutely right. They offer comprehensive technical support, to help customers troubleshoot any issues, make sure they're getting the most out of the products. And their training programs, those are designed to really empower users, give them the knowledge and skills they need to operate the Signmax software, those CNC machines, effectively. I bet they even have specialized training for the CNC machines, since those are pretty complex.
It really paints a picture of a company that's invested in its customers' success, not just making a quick sale.
I agree. It's refreshing to see a company that takes such a holistic approach, combining high quality products with that dedicated support and training. It seems like they're genuinely invested in building those long-term relationships with their customers.
I have to say I'm really impressed with what we've learned so far. This dedication to Canadian manufacturing, combined with their approach to sourcing and customization, it's really something.
Yeah, it's a unique blend. You're right. They've found a way to prioritize quality, that local expertise, and customer support all in one. But I'm really curious to see how it all comes together in practice. Can you maybe give us some concrete examples?
Oh, absolutely. Let's say you're a small business owner, maybe a trendy little coffee shop, and you want to create a really eye-catching sign for your storefront. Well, you could start with those aluminum composite panels from Signmax. Sturdy, weather-resistant.
Right. And imagine, designing your logo, your tagline, using one of Signmax's WinPCSIGN software packages, something that really captures the vibe of your coffee shop. You could play around with different fonts, different layouts, until you find that perfect look.
Yeah, I love that. And then once you have your design, you could use a CNC machine, like the Marengo, to cut that panel to the exact size you need. No more, struggling with hand tools or settling for generic signs.
Exactly. You're in control of the whole creative process, from the design all the way to making the actual sign. And speaking of control, let's imagine a larger project now, maybe something like a monument sign for a community park,
Oh, that's a good one, yeah. Something that needs to be, durable, weather-resistant, and really visually striking.
Exactly. So for a project like that, you might go for Signmax's Titan CNC machine. It can handle those larger dimensions, heavier materials. And remember that WinPCSIGN monument software we talked about? Perfect for designing those intricate letterings, graphics, which would then be, carved into the material by the Titan with incredible precision.
Wow, so one company can handle such a diverse range of projects. That's amazing. From small storefront signs to large monuments. And it all comes back to that commitment to customization, meeting their customers' needs.
Absolutely. It's not about mass production. It's about tailored solutions, helping businesses, communities express themselves. And let's not forget that Mad Us aspect. It's not just putting parts together. It's about inspecting, refining, customizing each product to meet those high standards.
Right. They're not just selling products. They're building relationships. They're empowering their customers. Now, taking a step back, what does Signmax's approach tell us about manufacturing in general? In this globalized world?
That's a great question. I think Signmax really represents a new kind of model, one that embraces both global sourcing and local expertise. It's not an either-or situation anymore.
Yeah, like they found that sweet spot, right? The best of both worlds. They're sourcing those high-quality components globally, but then bringing them back to Canada for that final touch, the customization, the quality control.
Exactly. It challenges that old idea that local manufacturing can't compete globally. Signmax is proving that you can have both, access to those global resources and a strong commitment to local production, local craftsmanship.
And in this model, it has implications beyond just sign making, doesn't it? I mean, imagine other sectors adopting a similar approach. Furniture, electronics, even fashion.
Absolutely. It could really revitalize local manufacturing jobs while still allowing companies to stay competitive. And for consumers, it means, having access to those high quality, ethically made products.
It's a win-win situation, really. And it's exciting to think about the possibilities for a more sustainable future.
Definitely a model worth paying attention to. Signmax is showing us there's a different way to do things, one that prioritizes quality, customization, a commitment to local communities, and global partnerships.
Well said. As we wrap up this deep dive into Signmax, I'm left feeling, well, optimistic, inspired. They've shown us that it's possible to build a successful business, one that values both global connections and local craftsmanship.
And maybe this deep dive has sparked a question for you, Could this hybrid model, this global sourcing with local customization, be the key to a more responsible, resilient future for manufacturing? It's something to think about.
Absolutely. It's a reminder that innovation can come from anywhere, and that the future of manufacturing might be a lot more, well, diverse and dynamic than we think. And on that note, we'll wrap up this episode of The Deep Dive. We hope you've enjoyed exploring the world of Signmax with us. Until next time, keep diving deeper into the things that spark your curiosity. The CTO.